welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. Today I'm having to film on my phone with like my front camera, just because I have to do some rearranging and stuff with my actual like filming camera. So the video quality is not as great, unfortunately. So sorry for the kind of like grainy film kind of look, I guess. Today I want to film my final thoughts on all the makeup products that the spin wheel picked for September. So we're going to start with the fragrance, which is the Britney Spears Curious fragrance. I've been using this for years. This is the mini that my husband got me. I do have a bigger size that I've been using, but it's a little easier to kind of pull the minis back here in my office to use. But I really like this fragrance. It's a floral fragrance. Let me kind of see if I can pull up the notes. Alright, unfortunately, that's the bad thing about when I have to film on my phone is I can't close the video because then it stops the video. But it has like some floral notes. I think it's like magnolia, some pear, some vanilla, a little sandalwood, all that kind of stuff. To me, I feel like it smells like a little bit spicy, fruity floral. More floral than fruity. To me, right off, I get... right off I get the magnolia scent, and then as it dries down on me a bit, I smell more of the pear in it. I don't really get too much of the sandalwood in it. Like right off the bat to me. Again, I'm not a fragrance person. I just kind of enjoy fragrances. I don't really know like specific notes and dry downs and all that kind of stuff. So this is just my like opinion. But I do really like this one. I think it's nice. It does last, it's not like super long. It doesn't last me all day or anything like that. It usually lasts me a good 5 hours maximum. But I will say the sandalwood, I don't really get it like super potent, which it's not one of the main notes according to Fragrantica. But I do feel like it does give it that little bit of spiciness to it, you know? Alright, but let's move on to the actual makeup. So first things first, we have the primer, which is the Benefit POREfessional primer. I do like this one. I've been using it, like I said before, I've been using it a really long time. I will say that I do prefer the light version over this one, just because it doesn't feel as heavy as the original, because the original does have that very slippy silicone feeling, but this is definitely one of my favorite pore filling primers. I think it does a good job of also kind of helping fill in some fine lines that I have in my forehead, and you know, kind of a little bit around the eye area with the crow's feet. I do feel like it helps kind of smooth that area out for makeup. But other than it feeling kind of slippy, that's the only complaint I have about it. Makeup wears really well with it. Yeah, I mean, it just smooths everything out for me. I really like it. Okay, I'm trying to go through this rather quickly too, because I'm trying to get ready today, and this video is already going to be late going up because between having a RFA done on my back, then I had family come visit around my birthday, and then afterward I kind of tweaked something in my shoulder, which was not ideal because it was like right above where I had my RFA, so my shoulder was killing me. I couldn't even like move my arm for a while, so I haven't really been able to film too much. So I'm trying to get back into it, but trying to be gentle with myself at the same time. But before we move on to brows and stuff, let's talk about the lip scrub and the lip oil. So the lip scrub is from Glamlight. It's their Chucky one. And this one is like this blue, almost looks like a blue slushy. And it has a very sweet cotton candy marshmallow scent. It's very, very marshmallow. Again, the same thing I say with all of these is that I've just found that I prefer a more dry lip scrub, but these work really well for exfoliating the lips and moisturizing at the same time. So if you want kind of a double whammy, they're good options. And they come in little kits with a lip mask usually as well. But yeah, I just prefer a dry lip scrub, because with these I actually have to go in and kind of wipe off, because I don't like to lick these off my lips. Sorry about that, guys. My phone rang and I got interrupted in what I was saying. But what I was saying is that I don't like to lick off those lip scrubs. It just tastes funny to me. So that's why I prefer the dry lip scrub. But it's a good product. It's just personal preference. Alright, so then the lip oil was the ColourPop Luxe Lip Oil in Blossom Out. It's a nice lip oil. It doesn't last super long. I have used it on its own. And I have used it in conjunction with a lip liner in the short with a little pink eye look. And I did the short compare. I did a lip combo short with this and the lip liner together too, if you want to see it. But I will say, and I don't know, maybe mine's pretty old at this point, it doesn't have a very pleasant smell. So this is not going to be staying in my collection. A little spoiler alert there. So I don't like to keep things that have a very not pleasant smell. So yeah, not staying. But I've been using it all month and it's decent. I mean, it moisturizes the lips like a typical lip oil, nothing spectacular. This one has some sparkle in it. So that's one reason I paired it with the lip liner that day, because I wanted something quick and easy. But let's move on. And we're going to go with the brows now. And so the two brow products were the NYX Brow Glue and the Benefit Precisely My Brow. I have the mini in the shade 5, which I believe is a dark brunette or dark brown, something like that. It'll be in the description. So I have tried this, like putting it in my brows first and then trying to fill in with the brow pencil. Same thing I always have with any kind of brow gel like this. That's like that firm, stickier brow gel. I think it's just because I don't have a lot of brow hairs. Like I did dye them recently, so that's why they're looking darker. But I have very thin, sparse brows, so there's not a whole lot of hair there for it to have to pull up. And then what happens to me is then it dries down really stiff, and then I have a really hard time trying to go over with my brow pen or pencil that I'm using. So the way I prefer to use them as a setting brow gel. Saying that, I will say this is not my favorite brow gel to set with, because it is pretty firm. It doesn't stay firm throughout the day, but I just don't like how it feels when I first put it on. I have brow gels that don't feel like that still hold my brows pretty decent throughout the day, that I prefer over these. We'll see if this survives my next declutter or not, because it's not a horrible brow gel, it's just not for me. But I'm going to go in with the brow pencil. I need to grab a spoolie first, though. That's the only bad thing about these minis is they don't come with the spoolie. I believe the full size does, though. Because I like to brush up my brows before I go in with the pencil. This is a pretty pigmented brow pencil, so I am glad that I did get a dark brown shade as opposed to a black that I normally do, because I feel like that would be way too dark for me had I done that. And as you can see, it's super easy to use. I mean, look how quick that was. It's one I really enjoy and will be keeping in my collection until it is gone. Especially since it is this like thin, precise tip, which I've been enjoying lately. Just easier for me to control. Then I like to go back in with the spoolie and then just kind of brush through to make it look a little more natural and not so harsh. Okay. And I go in with the brow gel to set. So one of the things I do not like about this brow gel is you do have to make sure you already kind of set your brow to how you want it, because once it dries, you're not really going to move your brow. So if you want a decent hold, at least for my brows anyways, I don't know if you have thicker brows, if it will work as well. You will have to kind of refer to another creator for that. But at least for mine, it does hold them up. Okay. All right, so those are my thoughts on the brow gel and the brow pencil. I think the brows are looking decent. Not this one, I kind of messed up a little bit, but that's typical because this one has like more straight, whereas this one has more of an arch. It's a little annoying, be honest with you. I wish both my brows like this looked like this, but you know, brows are not always twins. Okay, so let's move on to eye primer, because the palette I have has some fallout, so I don't like to do my face first when I'm using this palette. But the eye primer is the Catrice Grip to Last, and I will just go ahead and tell you I do not like this eye primer. I'm pretty sure I have to look back at my video, because the first time I used it was my full face of Catrice, which is not up yet. Like I said, I'm always behind. Pretty sure I said I didn't like it in that one either, because this is a very, like, it's not quite slippy, and it's not the pigmented type like I like to use and prefer. This one is kind of liquidy, and kind of almost a liquid gel feeling. It's just very weird texture to me, and I just don't like it. One thing I don't like too is that, and it's doing it now, sometimes when I put it on, it kind of burns my eyelid a little bit. So I don't know if maybe I'm allergic to it, or what. But let's go in with the palette now. So the palette is the Gothic Romance Mini from CXC Beauty. Like I said in the spin wheel, that makeup company is actually local to me because they own a store in Merritt Island, Florida. So I actually can go shop in store if I want to there. I haven't been back up in a while, but I do want to go back up because I do really like the quality of their palettes, at least this one, because it's the only one I've used. But I mean, the mattes are very pigmented, they are very easy to blend. So where I'm talking about the fallout is their shimmers, at least in this one. I can't speak for, you know, the rest of their palettes, but at least with this one, I get fallout with all their shimmers because they're very, like, impactful, sparkly, which I really like. But yeah, that's why I like to do my face first. Today, I think I want to go in with kind of this, like, burgundy. It's almost like a purple burgundy shade. Actually, let me grab a different brush. I'm gonna go in with the Singe Beauty EO2. And I'm gonna tap that off. I'm gonna go into my crease with that. I've used this shade kind of in conjunction with other shades just to kind of like deepen up and stuff, but I haven't really used it on its own. So I thought I would do that today. And you guys can see, I mean, it blends like really easily. I do feel like that primer kind of hinders it a little bit because I've used this palette with other primers, and I've noticed with that primer, things tend to stick a little bit. So it's another reason I don't like that primer. I'm just building that shade up a little bit at a time. I like to do that with darker shades because, like I said, I'm not a makeup artist, I'm just a makeup enthusiast. So I like a good formula, especially in a darker shade, that I can build so I'm not automatically like messing my look up right away. I think that's a very pretty shade. Alright, I am going to dip a little bit into the light pink up here to help with some softening that line. This is from I forget the brand. I don't think they exist anymore. I think they're out of business. I think it's like Bling Brushes or something like that. This is the Paige Corin collab. This is a E23. So I'm just going to take that, just kind of help me soften the edge. I'm not going too intense today. If it was more of like a nighttime look, I would go deeper, darker with it, but I'm kind of trying to keep it soft. And I'm just going to go back and forth between those two shades, build it to the intensity I want, repeat it on the other eye, and then we'll come back and do the shimmers and stuff. Alright, I'm back. I did put a little bit of NYX glitter glue on my lid. I just use that with all my shimmers to give it kind of that extra pop. Alright, but I think today I have not used this very pretty like purple shimmer here. I'm going to use that, and I think I'm going to pair it with the pink. I've used this one several times. I'm going to use a brush first, and then I usually end up going back in with my finger. I'm just putting that dark purple along the outer part of my eye. And see, yeah, I've already got some fallout. So I'm going to flip the brush over. I'm going to go into the lighter pink shade. And I'm going to put that on the inner part. And I'm just kind of flipping back and forth between the two. Alright, so there it is with just kind of, you know, a brush. I like my shimmers to be more impactful, so that is where I like to go with a finger, because it just works better for me. Yeah, much better. Again, I'm just going back and forth just to kind of marry those two shimmers together. So pretty. Alright, I'm going to repeat that on this eye. I mean, as you can see, the shade works well with a brush as well. But if you're like me, using your finger gives you a little more bang for your buck. And I've just kind of found this true with all brands. Unless their shimmer quality is just bad, then it doesn't really matter what you do. But the quality of these shadows are really good. Alright, let me clean off my hand before it stains, because pink pigment tends to. Alright, and then I'm just going to go back in with that Singe Beauty brush. Just going to dab a little bit into that burgundy and just go back in and just kind of blend across. I apologize if you hear any noises in the background. My husband is going in and out of the house, putting some things away. Going back into that light pink, and then I'm just going over. Alright, I think that's where I'm going to leave it for now, and I'm going to start on my face, then we'll come back and finish the under eye. Alright, so the face primer is already set in now, so we can go in with the foundation, which it is a ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Tinted Moisturizer. This is a very light coverage foundation, as it says, tinted moisturizer. So if you're wanting a whole lot of coverage, this is not the one for you. But if you just want something that's kind of going to even your skin out, wears really light, this one's really great for the summertime. Just because it is so lightweight. I'll just squirt a little bit on my brush, and I'm going to kind of dab all over my face. And then I'm just going to spread it around. Try not to get it on my clothes, because normally I am getting ready in my pajamas, but today I already got dressed and fixed my hair. Just because I can be messy when I'm doing my makeup. I'm going to wipe that lip oil off now, just because I like to go over my mouth with the foundation, just because if I don't, I can see the line, and that annoys me. Alright, I'm going to go back in with a little more, just because I need some more coverage in this cheek area for my redness. Normally I'll put a green color corrector there, but I don't like to do that in these videos. I only like to use the products that were picked. so you guys can actually see how they perform together. But as you can see, you can layer it and get a little more coverage. It's a really nice formula. I really like it, especially for those easy makeup looks, because you can apply this one with your hands too if you want to do like really quick makeup look. All right, nice. Very pretty. Very nice finish. I need to blend down a little bit more there. Then I'll go back over with a sponge for whatever I miss. Okay. Now let's go in with our liquid or cream products. So we have a liquid bronzer from Physicians Formula. And this is their contour one. It's the Butter Glow contour one in Fair Light. Now I will say, even though this is Fair Light, it's pretty pigmented. It is the poof. I don't really care for these poofs. I know they got some popularity there for a while, as you guys can see. Because I am a light to medium usually in foundations and stuff. Now I will say this does sheer out though. I'm gonna do the chin, little under the lip, little on here, and then down the nose. Okay. And then I usually just take a stippling brush and I go. I've also used a sponge. If you use a sponge, you're going to get a little more sheer coverage. Usually I'll go with the brush first and then I'll go back with a sponge, which is probably what I'm going to do today. I just kind of like to get that first layer down before it dries on me. Because I don't want to look like I have drew myself a beard, you know. Okay. Gonna grab this sponge. We're going to go over with it. I always end up going a little crazy on my forehead. I don't know why I get so heavy-handed up there. Alright, and so that is the bronzer, or contour one. It's nice, like I said, the shade is a little darker than I expected for a fair light, so just be mindful of that if you are lighter than me. And I'm not sure what the deeper end of the spectrum looks like on there. Physicians Formulas are usually not very good at having a variety of shade range. Okay, but next we're going to do a cream blush, and this is the Cosmic Beauty Cream Blush in Got Chills, which is a baby pink. I've really been enjoying this one. Normally I'm not a big fan of baby pink blushes, but I actually really like this one. I'm just cleaning off that bronzer brush I just used. And then I'm just going to dip right into the blush. As you can see, it's definitely a baby pink. I'm going to pull the little thing off the mirror. And we're just going to go right in. Like a little on the nose. And then I go back over with the sponge. Alright. So I hate the reflective packaging. I'm sorry, I kind of blinded you guys. I hate the reflective packaging just because you guys can see fingerprints all over it. That's a pet peeve of mine. But the formula is really nice, very easy to blend. I don't have any complaints about the formula. I just prefer different packaging, and it's kind of like this. It's not super cheap plastic, but it's not like super sturdy plastic either, you know. So, nice blush, nice formula. Not a huge fan of the packaging. Okay, now we're going to go in with the liquid highlighter from ColourPop. This is their Dewy liquid highlighter in Pink Pony. And this is a highlighter that looks like it's going to be glittery. But I actually really like it. It actually blends in super nice to where it doesn't look glittery on the skin. And again, I'm going to go back in with that same stippling brush. And I think it just complements that pink blush very, very nicely. I think they're a very good pair together. And I'm just going to go with the sponge. Okay. So before we get into the powder, bronzer, blush, and all that, I'm going to do my concealer now. So I've been using the L'Oreal True Match Concealer in W3 because that's what the spin wheel picked. I have been pairing it with my Tarte Shape Tape though, because this is just my actual shade. Like this is my foundation shade too, so I use this in conjunction with that a lot of times when I just want like a uniform look and no brightening under the eyes. But I want some brightening today, so I'm going to pair the two together. That, and I'm trying to use this Tarte Shape Tape up because it's getting pretty low. So this is the 16 in Fair Light Neutral for my brightening. But I'm going to lay down the L'Oreal first. And then I'll put a little of this Shape Tape. See, this is why I don't get dressed first. I just got some concealer on my shirt. Gonna put a little there, a little there. Not too much because these two together are pretty full coverage. Alright, going with the sponge. Okay, so I want more coverage under my eyes, so I'm going to go in with a brush, and then I'll go back over with a sponge. Okay. Although there's plenty of product left in my Tarte Shape Tape, I think it may be time to let it go because it's starting to look really dry under the eyes. Alright, so now what I want to do is I'm going to get my under eye powder, set my under eyes, and then we will start with the powder products. So I've been using the Catrice Pink Under Eye Powder. Really like this one. I think it's really nice. Just wish it was a bigger container. And I've been using their little puff that goes with it. Or that I bought separately, I should say. It doesn't come with it. This is a really nice brightening under eye powder, especially if you like the pink under eye trend. And then I dab a little down the center of my face to add some more brightening. Alright, so now we're going to go in with the powders. So our powder bronzer was the Makeup Revolution or Revolution Beauty bronzer that I got in my advent calendar last year. This is the shade Shape. This is an okay bronzer. It's not deep enough for my liking. Just going to use this Laura Lee Los Angeles L31 brush today because it just has more coverage area and it's a little denser. Ooh, I went a little too heavy there. Forgot to tap that off. Luckily that's where powder comes in handy. And then I'm just going to do the cheeks. This brush is really nice for the cheeks. And under the chin. And a little down the nose. And lips. Alright. I'm just going to grab my foundation brush and kind of go back over this area. Help a little bit. Alright. So the formula is nice, and it can be pigmented, as you guys seen. It's just not my favorite shade on myself. So most likely this is probably not going to stay in my collection. We'll see. But right now, leaning towards not going to stay. But it's not a bad formula or anything. I like it. Just a shade match thing for me. Alright, so now we're going to go in with our powder blush. So we have the ColourPop Shortcake, and then we also have the Lunar Beauty. I've used this one in other videos, and I've only used this once. And I used the Kawaii shade, which is that bright pink. But today, I think I want to kind of do a more subtle blush. I want to do this one, the Pink Prince shade. And I'm just going to use a Singe Beauty F06. I may mix in the Kawaii shade. We'll see. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it a little softer for the look today. I like Lunar Beauty's blush formula because it's very buildable. That being said, that Kawaii shade is very pigmented. I think I'm going to dip a little bit into that one today and add it, but not much. Do a little down here and up here. Okay. Like I said, love this formula from Lunar Beauty. Have no complaints about it. Packaging is very nice and sturdy. There's no kick up in the pans. Very, very nice palette. But this is the Nude Prism blush. I wasn't sure if I said. The ColourPop Shortcake blush, even though it's pretty old at this point, it still has good pigment and still blends nicely. Don't have a problem with it either. Okay. Just gonna blend it a little bit more. Alright, now we're gonna go in with the powder highlighter. And the powder highlighter is from ZC Cosmetics. It's ZCX British Museum. ZCX British Museum. It's the shade number SO2. I got this in an Ice Cream Beauty box. And it's just this very subtle highlighter. Very pretty packaging, but it's not super pigmented. It gives a nice glow. So if you're just looking for a nice little glow to your skin, this is a good one, and it's not glittery or anything like that. It looks like it possibly could be a little bit, but it's not. So if you just want something subtle, just a nice little glow, you would like this. I like something a little more impactful though. But packaging is nice. Formula blends nice. Just personal preference. Okay. So moving on, let's talk about our last little powder here. This is the Catrice. This is supposed to be an under eye brightener, but it is in the shade Warm Nude, which is too dark for my under eyes. So I use it as a setting shade. So that is what we're going to do today, because that's what the spin wheel picked. So we are just going to go in with the bigger Catrice puff. Just going to kind of tap it in to the puff. Tap it off of my hand a little bit. And then we're just going to go over the face. And I feel that this actually works really well to keep my oil at bay. It actually works nice as a setting powder for the face. So if you were like me and got this shade and it doesn't really work for you under the eyes, then possibly try it on your face. Okay. Again, love the formula. Think it's really nice. Just wish it was a bigger packaging. Alright. So we're not going to use this today, but I have used it in another look. This is the ColourPop Muse Supershock Shadow. I love the ColourPop Supershock Shadows. I have no complaints about them so far, other than the fact sometimes they dry out. But I mean, so far I've been lucky with mine. I've only had one that was kind of dry, and that was a matte. But so far my sparkly ones, and maybe that's because I keep them kind of like really tightly closed, have been okay so far. Alright, so let's go in with I'm looking to see if I got anything else to talk about today. Okay, so I did do a look with these two eyeliners. I'll try to pop a picture up on the screen. I really did not like the look. That's why it did not get posted. And that was the only look I used these with. Unfortunately, these greens don't really go too well with the color story of the palette. At least in my opinion. I really couldn't think of a way to pair them. So, I mean, I did my best with that look, but I just didn't like how it turned out because I tried my hand at like a graphic liner and then a wing, and you guys know that's not my forte. But like I said, I'll try and pop a photo up so you can kind of see what it looked like, because you know, you got to kind of share sometimes the fails in makeup too, so people know, you know, hey, it happens to everybody. But yeah, but NYX liners are really nice. Never had any problem with them. This is their Epic Wear line. Very creamy, nice in the waterline. Never had a problem with. Worked really well as like drawing the line and stuff too for the liner. The ColourPop liquid liner. This kind of dragged on me, and I had to keep like shaking it. So I'm not sure about the formula on these. Like I said, I'm not the best liquid liner person, but I just had a really hard time working with this one, and this is the Hills. Okay, but moving on, we're gonna go into the Mally. This was the other setting powder that got picked, and you can actually use this as a primer too. I haven't used it as a primer. I always just kind of use it as an extra step to set my makeup, and I have found that this really helps the longevity of my makeup, I have noticed. And it actually kind of like helps smooth things out a little bit too. So I can understand why this was popular back in the day with makeup artists. And I've just been using the puff. Normally I don't like these puffs, but it actually works well with this. So yeah, I've really been loving this, and it's going to last me a while because I'm not really digging too much into it. It's just like a thin layer. Really, really nice. Really, really like this. This is the Face Defender in Universal from Mally Beauty. I got mine at Ross, my mini and the full size, so I don't know if the company still exists, but I really like it. Okay, so before I go into mascara and lips, I'm going to set my face, and we have the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Setting Mist. So this is a really nice setting mist for adding some hydration, like kind of helping melt your powders, but I find it does not work well for me with any kind of longevity. I usually have to pair it with like my Urban Decay or my One Size, things like that, in order to make my makeup last, because I am oily combo. It has a very nice like coconutty scent to it. I really enjoy that, but yeah, I don't feel like it makes my makeup last. So the way I do, I spray it and then I go in with my sponge to kind of help melt my powders in. And then I'll go in with an actual setting spray that works for me. So I'm just going to use the Urban Decay All Nighter. And that one I like to set with dry with a fan. Alright guys, so we're going to finish off the under eyes. I'm not going to put an eyeliner in my waterline today. I'm running out of time, so I need to speed this up a little bit. I'm going to go under the eyes with a little bit of this and a little bit of the light pink. And I'm going to try to keep it pretty tight to the lower lash line, because I'm not trying to do a smoky look today. to take my finger, I want to go a little bit into the silver, and I'm just going to pop that in my inner corner. Just for a little pop of a little something. I'm going to take the pencil brush, kind of tone that down a little bit. Alright, now let's go in with the mascara. So the mascara is the Lift and Define 5D Lash. I'm just going to curl my lashes real quick. So this has a nice thin skinny wand on it, which I tend to like. And I've told you guys before, I do not have the best lashes for reviewing mascaras. But all I can tell you is I love anything that gives me any kind of length, which this does. You guys can see. And the one's not too bad. It's not like super pokey or anything. I'm trying to remember. I think I didn't like this mascara upon first reaction. It was either this one or the Catrice. Oh, I need to be careful because it does transfer when you first put it on. I just like to build it up some. Now, I do have to be careful because if I build it too much, it does feel heavy on the eyes, but I do like it. I don't use it on the lower lash line though because it looks kind of spidery down there. So I've just been going in with my Maybelline. An oldie but a goodie, the Maybelline Great Lash. Because I like a more subtle lower lash line mascara. Alright, so we're going to do a lip liner and a lipstick, and then what I think I'll do is I gotta head out. I think what I'll do is I'll come back later and I'll show you guys at the end of the day how the makeup has worn, because I don't think I've done that in these videos yet. So yeah, let's do that. Let me put this away and grab the lippy. Okay, so I used the Unearthly Black Veil in a nice kind of like spooky black and silver look. So that short is already up, so check that one out. That's one of my favorite looks I've done. But I have not used the Gwen Stefani Give Beauty Fishnets shade. I think this is a pinky red. We'll see. But I'm going to use the Starship ColourPop lip liner. I've used this several times. Like I said, I really like the ColourPop lip liners. The only thing I don't like is the older ones. When you sharpen them, they kind of like slide out. But their newer ones don't do that. This is just kind of like a light pinky nude shade. Good everyday lip liner for me. Alright, let's see how intense this shade is, because I have not used this shade yet in my collection. Okay. Yeah, it's more of a pink than a red. Try not to go crazy with it because it's pretty bright in person. Yeah, not a fan of that shade on me. Alright, but this is where we're at. This is the lip for now. I'll probably end up changing this today. And I pretty much know that that is not a shade that's going to stay, because I do not like these fuchsia-y pink shades on myself. I'm just kind of going back over at the lip liner. Mainly because I'm trying to tone it down a little bit. Alright, I'm going to grab the lip oil and the lip liner and take with me, and that's what I'm going to end up doing after I eat, because I don't like this. Okay. I'm going to leave for now, guys, but I will be back later to finish off the video and kind of talk about everything. We've pretty much covered everything, but I will see you guys then, and I'll show you how the makeup wore. Okay, be back in a little while. Okay, guys, I'm back, and it has been around 6 hours since I applied all this makeup. So let's do a little check-in here. I take my glasses off. Still looking really nice. Let me grab a mirror so I can see a little more up close. A little flaky from mascara, but not bad. Actually, no, I think that was a piece of lint. Eyes are looking exactly the way they did when I put them on. Very nice, very pretty. No creasing. Nice. That's important for me with my hooded eyes, because a lot of formulas like to crease on me, shimmer formulas. Still very pigmented, just like when I first applied it. Blush is still looking nice. So the highlighter, I am seeing the glitter particles. Yeah, on this side, that's kind of strange because I don't really... Okay, yeah, I see it on this side, but not as much, so I must have applied a little more on that side. Or didn't get this side sheared out enough. Foundation, the Tinted Moisturizer, still looking really nice. Powder's holding up nicely. I mean, you know, I got some foundation missing from here, but I wear glasses, so that always happens to me. I did switch the lippy, which I told you guys I was going to. I wore it out and ate lunch, and then it kind of wore off mostly at lunch, and then I wiped the rest off. So then I just applied the ColourPop lip oil and the ColourPop lippy liner in Starship. But I think the makeup's still looking really, really nice. So let's just kind of go over everything a little bit. So the fragrance. So we're 5 hours in, the fragrance is still there. So it's holding up real nice. I'm hoping I got the right one. I've been using this one all month, but for some reason I got it in my mind that maybe I was supposed to be wearing the Circus one instead. I'll go back and look at my video, and if I happen to actually have done that and mixed up the two, then I'll work the Circus one in, like a Get Ready With Me or something. But I'll definitely go back and check that, because for some reason in my mind I'm thinking, oh man, did I been using the wrong one all month? But this one I really like. Like I told you guys, I've had this fragrance for years in a bigger bottle. This is my smaller bottle. I'm trying to get better at using my fragrances on a daily, because I don't really do that. I only really do it if I'm going out of the house and getting ready, But even though this is more of a floral fragrance, I'm typically not a big floral person. I like this, the dry down and the initial scent of this. Well, the initial scent is a little strong, but once it dries down, I like it. It's very nice. It's very like more fruity to me. Yeah, it's definitely dried more fruity on me than a floral. And like I said, I don't really get the sandalwood too much, except for a little bit of spiciness in there. And I think that kind of is what adds to that. But again, I'm not a fragrance channel or a fragrance professional. This is just my personal opinion. But really, really would recommend if you like something kind of florally and fruity with a little bit of sandalwood. Lip scrub, good. Exfoliates the lips nice. Moisturizes, just not my kind of lip scrub. Just like all the other ones, I prefer a dry lip scrub. Okay. Lip oil, like I said, nice, very pretty color, but it has a nasty smell. It has like a chemically makeup smell, and I'm just not a fan of that. So I think for that reason, I have so many other lip oils in my collection. I don't need to keep something that smells that way. So very pretty, nice, lasts a decent amount of time. Yeah, because I put this on about 30 minutes ago and I still feel it. It's starting to wear away on the edges a little bit. But yeah, so decent amount for a lip oil, but just don't like the smell. Okay. Face primer, really like. I mean, I'm already down to here on this tube. That's how much I use this one and enjoy it. And I already have another one that I've used just as much as this one because I kind of like grab both. Again, the only thing I will say is that I do prefer their newer version, which is the light version, over this one, just simply because it doesn't feel as silicone-y as this one does. These are both tubes I have, and like I said, they're both pretty much down to this area. Really like. I think it does a good job of smoothing out and helping the makeup application. Brows. The Benefit Brow Pencil, really like. Love the precise little mini tip, micro tip. I think it did a good job with the brows. Actually really enjoying my brows today. I think it's a nice color for me too. I will say they're very pigmented, so normally I go for like a black color in a lot of the brow pencils or brow pens that I get, but this one is a dark brunette and I like it better on me. I think the black would be a little too harsh, so really like this one. The NYX Brow Glue. It's not a horrible brow glue, but it's just more a personal preference for me. It's just a little too stiff for my liking. Yeah, because like I don't feel it on my face, but if I touch my brows, I can feel how kind of stiff they are. And I don't really get that with other brow gels that hold up my brows really well and don't feel stiff like that. So I prefer those over these. That being said, I'll probably continue to keep these in my collection and most likely use them up. Just simply because I've already used a decent amount out of at least this one. I may pass the other one on to maybe my sister who has a fuller brow than I do. But yeah, there's my opinion on that. Let's see, next we'll do the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer. Holding up really nice. Like I said, we are 6 hours in, something like that. I think it is a very nice base. I love the ease of this one. Like I said, when you want to do a very quick makeup and you want to like kind of apply it with your hands real quickly just to even out your skin tone. If you want more coverage, you do have to layer this, but it is possible to get a little more coverage layering this. So if you're someone who loves a full coverage foundation, you're not going to like this. And I'd say even a medium coverage, you're not going to like this, because this is a more light coverage. I mean, it literally says a tinted moisturizer, so. But it's very nice. And this tube has been lasting me a long time, because I'm just now, let's see if I can kind of move product down. Yeah, I'm just now to here on this one. Alright, but very, very nice formula. Really enjoy that one. Concealer. So you guys know I love my Tarte Shape Tape that I've been pairing with it. So I've talked about that several times. The L'Oreal True Match Serum Corrector Concealer. This has 1.5% hyaluronic plus caffeine in the shade W3. Like I said, this is my shade that I like to use conjunction with the L'Oreal True Match foundation when I don't want a bright under eye. I want to just like have a complete uniform look for the day. It is not as full coverage as I like it to be, so I do typically kind of pair it a little bit with a color corrector if I want more coverage on my eyes. If I'm not looking for like a lot of coverage that day, this is perfect for that, because it's just enough to kind of hide what I want, but not be brightening and, you know, full coverage. But it is a very nice formula, and it is very lightweight, so really like this one. Continuing with cream and liquid products, the Cosmic Brushes or Cosmic Beauty Blush Butter Brush in Got Chills, which is a baby pink. Love this formula. Hate the packaging just because it is like a cheaper kind of plastic and just that reflective fingerprint all over type of packaging, but that's just minor stuff. But the formula inside is wonderful. Blends super easily, has nice pigment, not overwhelming. You can build it nicely. Love this formula. I have several of these blushes that they released in their kind of like collections mystery box type thing. I believe this one I got in their mystery box, I think. Yeah, I think this one was the mystery box. Love. Okay. The liquid bronzer or contour one from Physicians Formula, the Butter Glow. I like this. Again, another thing, packaging. I hate these poof applicators. I will say theirs is one of the better ones because it does have a locking mechanism and it doesn't really seep out like a lot of these do. Again, like I said though, be mindful of the shade because this is fair light and I feel like it's a little dark to be a fair light, but it is nice and blendable and I really enjoy it. So there's my thoughts on that one. Liquid highlighter. This is the ColourPop Dewy liquid highlighter in Pink Pony. Love the packaging. Think it is so cute. I like it. I've been using it for a while. This is the first time I've ever really like seen the glitter though on this one side. I'm not sure what's up with that. I don't know, maybe I did something there. Maybe I got a little bit of my eyeshadow in it or something somehow with my brush. But really like this one. Think it's a very nice pinky hue. Really nice formula, not hard to work with because sometimes liquid highlighters are hard to work with. Okay, let's get into powders. So we're going to go with the ColourPop Powder Blush in Shortcake. Like I said, even though this is pretty old at this point, this thing still blends nice, still has nice pigment, doesn't have a weird smell or anything, so definitely staying in my collection. And like I said, pairs really, really nicely with the cream blush from Cosmic Blushes, or Cosmic Brushes, not Cosmic Blushes. Okay, the powder bronzer from Makeup Revolution in the shade Shape that I got in my advent calendar last year. Like I said, it's a nice formula. It's just more or less, I'm not a huge fan of this shade on myself. I feel like I either go a little too heavy-handed with it, or I don't go heavy-handed enough with it, and then it's not pigmented enough. So I have enough bronzers in my collection that I don't really have to concern myself with having to make one work for me shade-wise. So yeah, that's the only reason this would leave my collection, is just the shade issue. But the formula is really, really nice. And it is nice it's this little small compact for travel, I will say that. So there are my thoughts on that one. The powder highlighter from ZC Cosmetics that I got my Ice Cream Beauty box. Like I said, it's nice packaging, very cute little embossing in here, but it's a very, very subtle highlighter, and I'm finding I'm not a huge fan of subtle highlighters. I want something that is not like super glittery, because you guys know I've talked about that. I don't like really glittery highlighters, but I also want something that's going to show up if I'm putting highlighter on. So I don't really go for the super subtle glow. So for that reason, this is most likely not going to stay in my collection. But we shall see. I always change my mind when I get into declutter time. Alright, continuing with powders, we have the Catrice Under Eye Brightener Setting Powder in Warm Nude, which I told you guys I use this as a setting powder on my face because it's too dark for under my eyes. I prefer the pink one for under my eyes. But love this. I think it works really well as a setting powder for the face. So if you ended up doing what I did and bought both of these shades and it's too dark for your under eyes, then use it as a travel setting powder. Really nice formula. I think it does really good, and I'm really quite surprised at how well it holds my oil back. Nice. And we have the Mally Beauty Face Defender in Universal. Love this product. Honestly, I think this is going to end up becoming a staple in my everyday makeup routine because I just love the finish that it ends up giving my base every time I use it, and it makes my base last longer every time I use it. So like I said, I definitely understand why this got popularity with the makeup artists back in the day. So I'm glad I have the big one and the little one, since I'm not sure if the brand exists anymore. Okay, so we have the face palette, the Lunar Beauty Nude Prism palette. Love this. Love the shades in it. I think they're great for everyday use. And you've got, you've got your two glowy ones in here. You got this one's kind of glowy and this one's kind of glowy. I just feel like this is a good staple everyday blush palette for me. I mean, this one's a little intense, but other than that, I love it. Love the formula. Love how buildable it is. Love the fact that, like, you can sheer it and make it kind of subtle if you want. You can build it up to be kind of pigmented if you want. Just really, really enjoy this formula. And the packaging is nice and sturdy as well. Okay. So let's move on to eyes. So we have the Catrice Grip to Last Eyeshadow Primer. I don't like this. And again, it's a personal preference. It's very it's not full-on liquid and it's not full-on cream. It's kind of this in-between consistency. And like I said, a couple times I felt like when I put it on, my eyelid would start burning. So I think I may have a sensitivity to this, something in it. And I know it says grip to last, and I think that's one of the issues I have with it, is I notice when I go to blend the shadow in sometimes, especially with like the first matte I lay down, it wants to kind of tug a little bit with this, and this happens with formulas that I know do not do that because I've used with other primers. So for that reason, it's just not my type of primer. So yeah, this is definitely not going to be staying. Okay, let's go with the eyeshadow. Like I said, this is from CXC Beauty, and they have an Instagram page. I think they have a YouTube page too, but I know they have an Instagram page for sure. I believe he has a TikTok too. Love this formula. This is the only palette I've bought from them, and I have already used it a bunch. I've used every single shade in here now, and I love the formula, so I really need to get my butt back to the store to get some more. The only thing I'm going to say though, and they are an indie brand, is that I don't think the packaging is all that luxe feeling. It is plastic, and I don't like the fact, like the mirror, it's very hard. It's hard for me. You can only go so far with the mirror because I like to bend my mirrors back a lot further. I will say it is a little stiff. I will say that the more I use it, because the first time I used it, I couldn't get the mirror to go past here. But the more I've used it, the looser it's gotten. So that's my only critique, really, is the packaging. Again, though, these are pretty affordable. I think they're $25 to $30, somewhere in that range. I'll link it down below and you'll see the price. But so, I mean, you know, when you're trying to make things affordable for people, then sometimes packaging is one thing that you cut back on a little bit. They do have bigger palettes too. I just am someone who prefers a 9-pan palette. But I will tell you, the formula is great. So if you're not a stickler for packaging and you want really nice blendable mattes and you want really nice consistent shimmers, like I said, it's the only palette I've bought, but all the shimmers in this are great. They all are consistently good. So there is that. I really like this palette, and you know, when I go back to repurchase more items, that tells you that I like a brand. But yeah, I'm hoping that, you know, maybe as they get a little more, I mean, they're not like an unknown brand. They have a decent amount of following, but I'm hoping that, you know, as they get more, they update their packaging a little bit. But you know, that's my only pet peeve with it. But you know, you have your shade names on the back there, and then the front. And I believe they do design their own artwork, which is really pretty. I really like that. Like I said, it's just this container. But formula, really nice. Okay, so next we have eyeliners. So like I said, I only used these two in one look that I'm going to try to pop up a picture in the video earlier when I was talking about it, because the look did not turn out the way I like. So I'll try to find a somewhat decent picture of it to show you guys. Love the NYX Epic liners. Don't have any problem with these. These glide really well on the waterline. They did really well, you know, kind of making the shape that I wanted to make across my eyelid. Didn't have any problem with that. Really nice eyeliners and pigmented. This, on the other hand, the ColourPop liquid liner, like, again, I'm going to say again, I'm not great at liquid liner. But I just felt like this was a lot harder to kind of like tug and then kind of pull back to put on my hooded eyes. And then I felt like I had to keep shaking it and keep shaking it because it kept kind of like drying on me in between. So not a huge fan of this. And that's the ColourPop BFF liquid liner in the Heels. Okay, so we have our mascara. We have the Makeup Revolution Lift and Define 5D Lash. I really like this mascara. I didn't think I was going to. Like I said, I'm trying to remember my initial thoughts, if it was this one or if it was the Catrice one I didn't like in my full face of Catrice, or if it was my full face of Makeup Revolution. I don't remember, but I actually really like this mascara. I think it does a good job of lengthening. Now, one thing I will say, my lashes have already dropped some. So there is that. But I mean, for me, this is a really good mascara. It gives me a nice length and it's got nice black pigmentation to it. The wand doesn't bother me. It's not pokey or anything, and it's actually not the size that I don't like. I don't like that like hourglass shape where it's thick, because where I have smaller eyes, those are harder for me to use. So I prefer wands like this, or like the really skinny wands. So yeah, I think this is a really nice formula. I will definitely continue to use this. Okay. Back to eyeshadow. Love the ColourPop Supershock Shadows. This shade is actually really nice. You can kind of tap it on and kind of sheer it out a little bit if you want. Or you can kind of apply it over and tap in with some pigmentation. That's what this shade looks like. It's got that like beautiful peachy sheen to it. It's just a very, very pretty shade. And I'm not sure if I told you the shade is the shade Muse. Really, really like the formula. And this one is staying very nice, very pigmented and not dried out. Let me grab a makeup wipe. I normally don't swatch things in these videos, so I wasn't prepared with a makeup wipe. But like I said, you know, I created a look with it that was super easy. And I try to mix that up too when I'm doing these videos. I try to throw in, you know, easy looks and ones with more shades like today, or ones with like 1 to 2 shades. What do we have left here? Let's see. We have our ColourPop Pretty Fresh setting spray. Like I said, this one's really nice to spray for like hydrating, and to help kind of blend my powders in a little more if they're looking a little cakey, but does not set my makeup. My oil comes back through about an hour, if even that, maybe 30 minutes when using this. So I always have to pair this with something with more longevity. So that's the only thing I don't like about this one. But it is a nice formula and it smells nice. Okay. Lips. So we have our 2 lip liners. We have the LA Girl Nude Wave, or LA Girl Shockwave Nude Lip Liner in Rosewood. Just a really, really nice nude. It's kind of like a mauvey nude. I've used it several times. That's what it looks like. Then we have the ColourPop Starship Lippy Pencil. And this is just a nice pinky nude. It leans a lot more pink than nude, but very, very nice. And both these formulas are nice. Like I said, the only pet peeve I have with the ColourPop one is that once you sharpen them, sometimes they start sliding out, so you have to be careful with that. But both these pencils last a decent amount of time on me. And I like the formula. They glide on nicely, no tugging, nothing like that. Okay. And then we have our liquid lipsticks. And I believe we had a lip gloss too. I believe it was the Glamlite Hot Chocolate lip gloss. I don't think I used that one. If I did, it would be in a short. But if I did, I think it's in my purse. I cannot find it, so I don't know if I lost it. It's possible I lost it. I'll have to hunt it down. But you guys know I love Glamlite glosses, especially the ones that come in their lip kits. There is something about their gloss, and especially paired with their lip liners, that take your lips from looking thin, at least mine, because my upper lip is kind of thin, to being like this nice, juicy, plump lip, even though I don't really think there's any plumping properties in it. At least not any type of like stinging or minty or anything. Maybe there's an ingredient in it that doesn't like cause that effect, that gives a plumping effect, but I don't even know if that exists. But to me, they make my lips look so much plumper. But anyways, the liquid lipsticks. So we have the Unearthly lipstick in Shadow Veil. If you're looking for a good black lipstick that has like these glitter sparkles in it, this is a good one. I don't know if this is available though, because I got this, I'm trying to remember, this was either part of the Nightshade collection, where it was like the mystery box, or the Gargoyle collection. If it's part of the Gargoyle collection, I think this is still available. But if it was part of the Nightshade, I don't think it's available anymore. If it's still available, I'll put it in the description and stuff. But I really like this. One of my favorite black lips. Very nice formula too. And then we have the Give Beauty, what is it called? I'm Still Here liquid lipstick in Fishnets. I do not like the color of this shade. I told you guys that when I applied it. I had a feeling I wasn't going to. I got these on sale at TJ Maxx, and I wished I had looked up the shade before I bought it, because I thought it was going to be more red, but it's more of like a fuchsia-y pink on me, at least. I don't like that shade. Never have liked that shade on myself. So yeah, this is going bye-bye in my next declutter. The formula is a little dry, at least this one. I don't remember my original recipe being dry, but this one, it dried down pretty quick and it felt kind of dry on the lips. So I don't know. It could just be this one, or we'll see. I'll try my original recipe again. Maybe I just don't like the formula now. We'll see. But yeah, this one, definitely a no. Alright, so that, I believe, is everything. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you own any of these products? How do you feel about them? Now that you've seen this video, are you thinking of picking anything up? All that good stuff. Again, I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers by the end of the year, and I am at 360 as of yesterday. So if you guys would take a moment and like and subscribe down below, really helps me out and I would appreciate it. Until next time, guys. Bye. ColourPop pretty. Whoop. So